Good morning. Uh, Thanks everybody for joining today. We are going to get started and kick off our webinar today about the use of AI for Amazon management. So again, thanks all for joining. We're going to spend the next 20-30 minutes really diving into when and how and what we can do with AI. Obviously, a hot button topic, and want to give some kind of tips and tricks of what we're doing as an agency or what we've explored as an agency of honestly where AI works and where it doesn't, managing Amazon, Walmart, and other marketplaces. Before we dive in, just a little bit about Brandwoven and myself. If you don't know me, my name's Chris Gray. I'm the CEO of Brandwoven, and honestly, for the better part of 2 decades, have spent time working with premium brands, both on the retail side and brick and mortar, and specialty retail, big box, whatever that happens to be, and then spent the last really 7 years of my career dedicated to Amazon and marketplace management. So. Excited to chat, obviously, about things that are changing in the industry quite a bit, and yeah. So a little bit about us as a company. So Brandwoven is a marketplace management agency. We help with Amazon, Walmart, Target, Instacart. If it's a marketplace, generally we're helping brands in that space. We are medium sized, I would say. We manage about 28,000 ASINs, just shy of 200 million in annual sales. And our average client does right about 16, 17 million on specifically the Amazon platform. Our team is 36, so we have a scale to be really experts in our space and have technology stacks that really help us to manage the business, but we're not so big that we're inflexible in how we work with individualized brands. So we sit ourselves generally working with more premium brands, generally working with products that are nationally distributed, and have done a nice job growing those businesses in marketplace over the years. But that's not what you came here to talk about or hear about. So framework for today's webinar is really, I'm going to present for, again, 20-30 minutes. If you have questions, everybody is muted with cameras off. So if you do have questions, go ahead and pop them into the meeting link, and I will get to them either in the flow of the presentation if I see them. If not, I'll be sure to loop in at the end and answer those for you. So today, what we will cover, going to really dive into, honestly, what we think of AI and marketplace management, its roles. We're going to dive into the specific tools and uses as we are managing specifically Amazon. We'll talk mostly about Amazon today. Everything from AI generated assets to forecast planning to data and analysis to SEO, all kind of the core components of what it means to manage marketplace. We'll go through what AI tools and what those look like. Also want to spend a little bit of time on AI limitations and pitfalls, so over-reliance, things like that. And then got to talk about Amazon Rufus, Amazon's AI assistant, and how that might impact both management and the way that we interact with our customers on the platform. So, let's dive in. Forgive the cheesy movie reference, but had to give a nod to the Matrix there. So AI in marketplace management. Really simply, what it is not, what are the limitations. In summary, we feel like AI is an exceptional tool that not only should but has to be used to be competitive in this space right now, and it's really a tool to drive efficiency in our work or drive insights into things that people and the systems that we currently have just can't get to quickly. So that is really what we are looking at AI to solve for us. Again, efficiency, insights, and really data manipulation, data investigation, things like that. So what it's not, I think this is a really important piece that as it sits today, AI is an incredibly powerful tool, but it is not yet a wholesale replacement for people who can do thinking and adapt quickly to a changing environment. Oftentimes it oversimplifies complex problems. And oftentimes, if you're really on the cutting edge of what's happening, it's looking at a data set that might be too old, and it's only as good as the data that it can really reach. So we need to be really careful about saying that AI can do everything and that people aren't necessary at this point. Although I think those efficiencies that we talked about before are going to become greater, and it's going to get better and better over time. So I referenced that before. So limitations, AI only as good as the data it can access. And we have to think about the data set that it's looking at anytime we're using it. So I think that is a really important piece that does limit us in some extent to its understanding of marketplace or our particular situation. So knowing that, there's 4 areas we're going to spend time talking about today that we do actively use AI. One is SEO and analytics. So a huge way that we can use these tools is in understanding what's happening on marketplace, driving into content creation to better display our products, to make our products more relevant on market. That's a huge use of it, as well as digital merchandising, kind of closely tied from that perspective. But image and video creation, translations, there's a whole bunch of uses in our digital presence in marketplace that we can use AI for. The third is demand and supply planning. This is really this crossroad between like predictive analytics and what AI can do to data and forecasting. Super important to be at least thinking about how it can have an impact there. And then maybe the most obvious use, which is like a combination of machine learning and AI, terms that are kind of interchangeably used but are a little bit different on the marketing side. So the paid media side, everything from bid optimization to keyword harvesting to like, data representation of what's actually happening. All are key uses of AI, and there's pretty great tools that are out of the box that you can use to do that. So we're going to move into each of those now and talk first about SEO and analytics. So I put down 3 tools that we have either explored, used, or actively used in our management. All of these are softwares that have been around for a little while, especially in Helium 10 and Jungle Scout. They're very well known within the industry, but they have tools now that are AI based to help us out. And this is where we talk about that driving efficiency play, as well as the ability of AI to look at lots of data and bring us consolidated results. That's generally where we're using it. Automato, a little bit newer technology that we have explored and I think would be great for a lot of sellers. And it does an excellent job of being able to not only take the aggregate Amazon data, but allow you to put inputs around brand voice, how long do you want your titles, things like that work really well. So 3 to check out if you're looking for tools. Helium 10 and Jungle Scout. 2 that if you're in the Amazon management space, you probably already have and just need to use their AI-based tools that are already in your stack and that won't cost you any more money. So the how we use them, I think, is really important. I think for title and bullet point ideation and construction, all of these tools can help immensely. So taking all of the data from Amazon that says, hey, what is relevant? How are consumers searching, and all that data compiles into what could a title be, what could bullet points be that are going to be really impactful for your customer. Same with SEO research, right? It's doing all of that research for us and able to consolidate down to a list where then we get to make fewer decisions for the brands that we're managing with really good data-backed decision making, right? And I would say what we use these for is really taking us close to the line. And then we do still have a person that's evaluating and saying, does this make sense for the brand? Does this make sense for the product category? Because there is, again, AI only as good as the data that it is referencing. If it's referencing how to optimize your search relevancy on Amazon, it might keyword stuff a whole bunch of things that aren't reflective of your brand voice and like brand values that you're trying to present. And that's where a person needs to be there to kind of temper AI's impact and say, hey, I understand this might be best for SEO, and that's what the data is saying. But we know for this brand, we need to be a little bit more specific about how we approach the market. So just a note there, we use AI a lot for competitive research. So this is maybe more on the lines of automation than it is true AI, but still those terms are so interchangeably used right now. I wanted to call out the competitive research saying, hey, what's the market doing? Who are our competitors? What's their market penetration? How are they doing it? There's AI tools, especially within Jungle Scout and Helium 10, that are driving us to those results fairly quickly as we can ask the question and get a really good starting point for what's happening. So, sales analytics, another use in this space, is saying, hey, what's happening with our sales and why? There are tools, especially within Helium 10, that we are using to drive some of those answers. And it's doing a good job of, again, getting us a starting point or even just a new perspective that we might not be able to see intrinsically looking at the data. So moving forward a little bit into digital merchandising, and again, this is one where there is a ton of tools for AI content generation that you can say, hey, create me listing images for X product, and it will digitally create those. We've seen those be highly effective in some cases, but for most big established brands that already have assets available, we're using AI to, really supplement what we're doing on the content creation side, not create digital assets from scratch, which tend to look digitally created in a lot of cases and don't come with the same authority as, a brand's assets that they might already have built for the platform. So a few examples of what we do in the digital merchandising space: AI generative fill, awesome little tool that we use because we have images that are, the wrong aspect ratio, and we need them to be the right aspect ratio, and we can't crop for Amazon. Super great to say, hey, AI generative fill in this to make it the right aspect ratio for Amazon. Then we can go ahead and use it without needing new photography, but we're still being very true to the brand guidelines that a brand has established for us. So we do occasionally use for creating assets. So this is like text to image translation, and all this is done with, honestly, Adobe's AI tool. So again, something that we're probably all already paying for, but we can do AI asset creation by taking either stock imagery or a brand's imagery and telling AI what to create. We can load information about that brand and their brand guidelines and their fonts and all this other information and get really close to what we might be able to use in Marketplace, simply by using AI to generate those images, especially around infographics and things like that. So super, super useful tool. Definitely on the efficiency play. This is something that would have taken, let's call it, an hour of design time to create. Now we're doing it in 3.5 minutes, tweaking for 5 minutes, and we're off and on our way. So this is another really good example of use of AI in digital merchandising and its translations. And I would say this is a perfect example that I wanted to show of how AI gets us close, but we still have to have people looking at it at this point. And again, it's getting better like every month. But as it sits right now, we had a brand that we manage across multiple marketplaces in 6 different languages. And we needed to take all of our imagery that we had created for the US market and adapt that for international markets with different languages. So what we're able to do is take that root image, AI generate a translation. So this is no input from us on language or anything else. And it looks pretty darn good. It is 90% there. It translated all of the copy for us, so we don't have to worry about that. It translated it in mostly the right place, but we still have to do a touch up to make sure that it's sized correctly, that it looks right, because that's the area where AI isn't perfect yet, right? So huge time saver for us, but still requires some person that is akin to what that brand is looking for from a visual side to take that AI generated image, tweak it, and make it a final image that we can then post. So super, super useful. We use this for translation of just straight text as well. So, if we're trying to move from English to French, we will translate all of our information using AI. We've verified that with translation agencies. We've verified that with, native language speakers from the country to say, hey, how does it sound? Is it good? The answer is almost always yes. It's exceptional at replicating language across many languages, and it's obviously very, very fast and very cost effective to do so. Again, those are just a few uses in the digital merchandising space and ones where we're actively participating. There's certainly more that can be done with this and more that we won't talk about that you can do with AI content generation. But as of right now, especially working with more premium brands more often, we still are not doing a lot of straight AI generated video and content, although it certainly can be done and is done where necessary. Moving through the other area that's really interesting in, you know, is demand and supply planning. So this is where AI is less about content generation or, kind of those more obvious uses and goes into, great, we have predictive modeling of forecasts that, we've always kind of had rules based. We've had a little bit of machine learning based, but I think what we're looking at now is the ability to look at data in ways that we might not think about and let tools like Streamline, which is what we use for forecast and demand planning for our clients, and say, hey, here's what we think it looks like. Give us another view. Give us another option of how we might forecast this and let it pick up trends that we might not natively see. So excellent tool to supplement what we're doing. Again, we never use the AI generated forecast or even a rules based forecast carte blanche. We're always going to go back, adapt it to things that AI can't know because the data set doesn't exist to know, and then layer those into the forecast. But it does give us new perspectives, new thoughts on what the future forecasting might look like. A good example of where it works and where it doesn't is it's going to look back at all the past historical data and see a big spike during Prime Day. It's going to forecast that big spike during Prime Day. But what if we know we're going to decide not to participate in that, right? Somehow we either have to feed the tool that data or we have to make a manual transition and change that out. And that's something that we're actively working with Streamline and the tool that they have to do so. I think if I was going to talk demand and supply planning and just overall data analytics, it's something that is really something that we want to see AI continue to improve and we want to continue leaning into as far as like how do we identify the reasons for sales being up or down, and can AI help us predict those reasons, and can AI help us identify those reasons, not in the context of sales is down and here are the products, but what is the driver of it? Was it buy box? Was it glance views? Was it conversion rate? Was it product availability? Was it traffic in the marketplace overall? That's where we really want to take it as as an agency, something that we're looking at and have been looking at for actually several years. And I think we're just getting to the point where that's going to start coming through in a real meaningful way. But there's third-party tools that are doing a lot with that data already. Marketing is maybe the most obvious place for the use of AI. And I think this is where maybe the term AI or machine learning or automation or rules-based automation all kind of have a confluence here. So there are three softwares listed up here that do, particularly Amazon Ads Management, all have an AI component to a different degree. So PackView is obviously a super popular platform for managing ads and has a ton of rule-based optimization where you're manually setting those rules, and it gives you a lot of control. They also have a huge amount of AI that's being built into their system right now. Copilot being a component of that if you have PackView and you have access to that, you've seen. But it's very much gives you the opportunity to do rules-based, the opportunity to use their AI tools. But foundationally, it's designed around giving you, more control, and those AI tools being a supplement. This is what we use. It's what we like. Teikametrics, one that we've had quite a bit of experience with, and is more optimized for machine learning and AI use in campaign and bid management. Does a really good job of it. Generally, we make that recommendation to brands with either a little bit smaller catalog or a little bit less time to invest in the day-to-day management. And then Perpetua, another one that is active in this space that is worth checking out. So where does AI work really well? We feel like bid optimization, keyword mining, budget allocation, budget monitoring. Again, A lot of that does fall more under the automation than technical AI scope of things, but AI is a component that is supplemental and helping to contribute to those different activities. So marketing is also the place where AI is I would say most scary, because if everybody is using a similar tool with a similar data set and AI is making all of the optimizations, you really have a confluence of everybody doing somewhat the same thing, which gets really interesting from like how does this have like a macro effect on the market? And that's something I think we need to continue to watch. If you take financial markets, have this general assumption that all information is known at all times. So you're really only compensated, let's say, in a stock price for the known information plus risk. And I think AI contributes to that sort of behavior on marketplace, where when everybody has access to similar data, everybody can quickly make changes based on that same data, where the real competitive advantage is, right? And I think that's a limitation that we'll probably talk about, but it's also a kind of an intrinsic risk of just letting AI run your business, as opposed to having someone thinking about like, okay, everybody's starting to do something similar. What does this mean? And what is going to happen in the future of like competitive advantage, because of skill set is going to potentially come less, and you really have to think about bigger picture strategy and what you're trying to accomplish over saying optimize in a marketing environment, let's say, just letting AI quote optimize your campaigns. So just again, thoughts that we have both about today and what is coming in this space. Few more things here. So AI limitations. I think there is some pitfalls here that I want to talk about, and I think we see this a lot where folks that are starting to use AI have an idea of like, hey, it should fix everything, it should do everything for me, I need to be using this tool, which is totally true. But again, to focus back on this idea that AI is only as good as the data that it has access to, I think that we have to think about it having some limitations, and it might be too prescriptive at times at directing us into what we should do. And I have an example up here of two different products. One value product, it's a folding pocket knife, and a premium product, it's a folding pocket knife, right? If we asked AI to create a title for a premium product that is $200, most likely, without some really specific instructions, most likely it's going to look at things like what are the SEO keywords that people are most often using to find this brand, but more than often it's going to say what are the keywords that people are using to find this type of product. And suddenly we have a title that's been constructed for a premium brand in, let's say, Benchmade, that is actually optimized for someone searching for pocket knife on Amazon, let's just say, or folding knife on Amazon. Most people, from a volume perspective, we know most people that search pocket knife on Amazon are going to buy something under $50. We have a product that is starting at $200. It's a very different audience, means that we look at the audience we're trying to reach very differently. But all of the data that most AI tools are going to look at is going to categorize it. It's going to say, hey, this is the SEO optimized title, and it's going to give you a title more like this: mini folding pocket knife, a length, the steel, handle small, EDC, knife with pocket clip for men, women, sharp, blah, 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 right? That might be the AI generated title, which is totally different in audience than someone who's looking for a $200 product that likely knows a few brands in which they're going to choose from. And we don't need to have all of those filler keywords, because if at nothing else, that isn't representative of the brand voice of a more premium brand, right? There's this like distinction between what AI is trying to do for you and what's actually connecting with your customer best. And yes, there's a ton of ways to mitigate some of that risk, but I think it's something that we need to be mindful of, at least thinking about when we're using AI tools. Is the data set that it is accessing looking to optimize for our goals as a company, right? So know your products and your audience, understand what AI is trying to maximize. AI is not gospel truth. AI, again, is looking at all the data that's available. So if all the data that's available is somewhat inconclusive, it's going to draw a conclusion that may not be correct. We do see that quite a bit where it's like, oh man, that's actually, not true, whether it's a chat GTP request or something else. It's not gospel truth. And um, if you can, utilizing secondary data sources to verify AI assumptions, especially if they're material to your business, becomes really important. Look at it through the lens of, does that make sense? Yes. Can I verify it through a couple different places? Yes. Awesome. We found huge efficiencies. Sometimes you'll find you look at what AI spits out, you verify it against what you know or other sources, and it's not quite right. And that's where we need a person there to kind of intersect and work through some of those challenges. So hope that makes sense and is helpful. It's just something that I know I'm always thinking about as we're evaluating tools is what is the objective of the AI tool? What are we trying to achieve? Are they aligned? Super, super important. So I think that's a bit about how and what we're doing with AI tools that you can take a look at. Amazon Rufus, can't talk about AI without talking about Rufus. So if you're not familiar, Rufus is Amazon's AI shopping assistant. And I should maybe not even say shopping assistant, it's their AI assistant. So it can be used for product search, it can be used for, hey, where is my order? But it is Amazon's interface to your app and your account. And what it is doing is, you know, making search more customized, even more customized for individual shoppers. And you can use it in search. And I think we need to think about, and we are thinking about, how consumers might be searching more question-based searches, right? Which is what Rufus is going to see and digest. Um, we also have to assume tools like Rufus, when you're looking at its analysis of you as a shopper, we need to understand that consumers are going to be able to dig deeper. It's going to get more customized results. All these things are in play when we're talking about how Rufus could change the way consumers interact with the Amazon platform in particular. So if you're using Rufus, it'd be super easy to say, hey, find me a, set of rain gear for fishing. Great. It's like, hey, which ones are top rated, right? Or which ones are the most durable? And it's going to search not just keywords, but it's going to search all the reviews. It's going to search all the context around those products to then make a recommendation. So as managers of the business, we need to be thinking about consumers digging deeper, faster, and easier, and that being a way to both optimize our content, but also a way that could hinder us if we aren't thinking about all the aspects of a PDP, all the aspects of a product, and how that's influencing consumer behavior. So also, one really, really interesting thing about Rufus, at this point, no ads. So in a world where generally your top two lines of search results on Amazon are encumbered by sponsored products, sponsored brands ads, Rufus is a place that is going to be ultimately ad-free. So it's going to be the true organic results of your question to the platform, especially when you're talking about it in search. So no ads, very good for people with high, organic placements. Likely bad for those who are trying to break into a market unless you've thought about what Rufus might be looking at from a data standpoint and applying that. Personally, seeing how expensive ads are getting and how influential they are, I'm excited to have a tool that doesn't take that into account when we're providing, results. I also think there's, some concern over how quickly can we understand what Rufus is doing and how it's doing it, because we do know for sure that results coming from Rufus when we're talking about product search does not mirror organic placements in the same search term within the search box. So it is very much customizing results based on consumer behavior more so than the results in search are at this point, even if you're signed into the app and whatnot. So this is going to be a really interesting tool. Adoption rate isn't super high as of right now, but we can only imagine as more consumers get comfortable with it, it's going to become more and more so important and more so impactful over the next, call it 6 to 18 months. So, that was kind of what we wanted to talk about today. Happy to stay on for a few minutes and answer any questions. If you are interested in learning more about, Brandwoven, there's a QR code, there's an email address. Shoot us a note in in the chat here. Any of those are totally appropriate. And my last cheesy gift for the day. Thank you for joining us and spending half an hour with us today. Hope you have a good one.